Good morning, everyone. Kansas Sports HQ here. Dave Bush, episode 30, Keshawn, Howell. So we have a different Sean and two Howells today. So you have Sean Cutler is doing some turf time with the Parisi coaches, and Keshawn is a former Parisi athlete, college standout, and he's in town, and we're excited to have him on. So good morning, and how's the day going on Black Friday?
It's going great, man. It's my first podcast, so I'm excited.
Yeah, a little nervous?
Not really. You know, I've been around Sheldon for a minute. You know, I worked out here, so I'm pretty comfortable.
Have you been to the new space before?
This is my first time.
What'd you think?
It was crazy. I mean, it still got that same old feel like me and Sheldon was talking about, that same grit, but a lot more space, a lot more opportunity to get a lot of more work done. So
wish you could have worked out here then.
Yeah, we would have got
get that 40 in.
Crazy work in here.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Sheldon, how's your morning, man?
It's great, man. We're blessed. I'm excited to, super excited to just link up with Key again because him and I have a great relationship, and, it's been fun to, I was just telling him downstairs, man, I'm super proud, and it's awesome to kind of watch his development and growth and just kind of seeing how things have worked out for him and are working out for him, I should say. So I'm excited to dive into his story a little bit and talk about him and just kind of our history and just all of that stuff. And fam's good. We had a great Thanksgiving. It was very laid back. So anytime that I have a laid back day where I just get to chill and not do too much, that's usually a good day. So it was fun.
Yeah, I would like to just make it known that I only had 2 deviled eggs.
Oh
wow.
I actually only had 2 too.
Man, they were good, but like I didn't overeat or anything, and I just wanted to watch some football, so I hung out with the fam, had a good meal, and did that. So
I was locked in on my guys. So the Packers showed up yesterday, which was good.
Chiefs didn't.
J Love and Toyotathon, dude's a baller. Dude's balling. Who you like?
Yeah.
What's your team?
I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan.
Okay, yeah. I think,
Yep.
Old Bijan.
Bijan.
He's on my fantasy team.
Yeah, he a beast.
He's a dog, bro. Dog.
Yeah, you're. I don't know how you feel about Kirko, but he's there.
Yeah.
Michael Penix out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And now you have Captain Kirk in there. Maybe Kirk Chains will come back.
Yeah, we don't know. We'll see.
You need him to.
Yeah,
need him to.
Need something.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Then
Drake London's hurt though, right? He ain't
I think
playing.
he's out.
I don't think he's playing.
I thought he was out last week.
No, I think he's out this week.
Oh, might be out this week.
Or he's doubtful, maybe.
On the other end of it, high school sports for football is coming to an end tomorrow. You have.
I think it's today.
Is it? I don't.
State championships are today.
State champ.
Yeah, I thought they were usually the day after Thanksgiving.
I thought they were Saturday. I mean, back when I went in.
There might be some on Saturday.
2002, we traveled to Lawrence and got whooped by Olathe North.
Yeah, things have changed.
Yeah.
Even since I graduated.
Oh, okay. Well, all I know is that back in the day, that was the first time we'd ever seen field turf or just turf in general, wearing 3-inch spikes to run around, and then at halftime we all put our regular shoes on, and by then it was over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, outside of that, man, I'm going to turn it over to Sheldon. Dude, just tell us about you and what you have cooking, and all the fun memories you have for Parisi.
Yeah, well, let's start a little bit of history with you, just so that people can kind of know, one, where you come from. Let's talk about, like high school, because I think you have kind of a unique story.
Yeah.
Early on in high school, because football wasn't necessarily your main thing, especially coming up as a kid, and football kind of became that thing for you. So I think that's unique. And I remember the first day I ever met you over at the old facility when you came in. You came in by yourself. Just kind of looking for, help and looking for options and looking for things. And you and I had good conversation, and then, the rest is kind of history. But talk about that. Talk about kind of growing up. Talk about, youth sports, kind of what your focus was, where you started, and then, kind of how that started to, develop and blossom from there. And we'll ask some questions along the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely had a unique story. Not the traditional story of, somebody, especially making it to where I made it. So I grew up, I was really into basketball. I played 1 year of football growing up. I think it was, like, 2nd grade, 1 year of padded football, and that was, like, the last time I ever touched football. Um, Growing up, I kinda tried a little bit of everything, though. I did a little soccer, basketball, a little baseball, and then I kinda just, fell in love with basketball. Um, and then going into, middle school, straight basketball and track, and then kinda high school, it was kinda the same thing. So Stuckey had that kinda pipeline to Heights. So went to Heights, and everybody know Heights is a powerhouse when it comes to basketball. So really, when you go there, it's kind of hard to do two sports. It's kind of like you pick one sport and you kind of rock with it, unless you're just a tremendous athlete. They'll let you bounce around. So once I got there, I knew I had an opportunity if I did lock in on basketball to play college basketball. So I was fully locked in. Kinda funny all the way through until I played football. The football coaches always bully me or like, "Hey, man, we need you out
Mhm.
there," or, "You're soft," this and that, and I kinda just would ignore it and, keep it pushing. Uh, but going into my junior year of high school, one of my friends, best friends, Dalen, I don't know if he came up here
Oh,
before.
you
Yeah,
did?
Dalen came up here
Yeah.
a couple times,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Dalen, I mean, that was the best, athlete that Heights had on the football team at that time, D1
Hey.
athlete. Um, it was me and him, summertime, and we were just kicking it, and he had football workouts the next morning. I probably stayed maybe, like, 5 minutes away from Heights. I was kicking it at his house. He was supposed to drop me off that next morning before he went to workouts, but we woke up late. So he was like, "Hey man, just come to workouts with me, it'll be a cool little workout." And I already knew the coach was gonna be talking and all this stuff. I ain't never been around anything football since 2nd grade. They've been bullying me since freshman year to come play football, and I just kinda just
Team needs
brushed
you.
them off.
Team
Yeah.
needs you.
Yeah, uh, so he told me that. I was like, I don't know if I really wanna do that." And I was kinda debating, like, do I just sit in the car and wait till he's done? But,
Uh-huh.
I was never scared of any work, so I was like, at anything, I can go get a workout in.
Mhm.
So, I ended up getting a workout in with them. They're kinda nagging at me the whole time. The day that I came was a Wednesday. Wednesdays was the day they did 7-on-7. So they did 7-on-7, and that day they were missing, like, a corner. So basically, I'm on the sideline sitting, they're running their 7-on-7, they're running all their drills, plays, and stuff like that, and they like, "We need one more to run, 7-on-7." I'm just looking, I'm like, "There ain't no way." Like, there's no way I'm about to hop out there, like, my basketball coach would kill
Oh,
me if I go
yeah.
out there, get hurt or anything like that. We were doing summer basketball too at that time, so I'm like, "Ain't no way." And so they kinda just still nagging at me, and I'm like, "Man, I'm about to just go out here, like, Sean, I'm not soft,"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I go inside, I grab a pair of cleats out their little, lost and found area, grab a pair of cleats, they was taped up, bottom was falling off, and I go out there, and basically all the corner coach told me, he was like, "You play basketball, you play defense." He was like, "Pretty much the same exact thing, just stay in front of this guy." So, at that time, I mean, they put me on their best receiver trying to,
Yeah.
you know
Clown you a
yeah,
little
trying
bit.
to
Yeah.
clown me a little bit, and pretty much I locked them down, and everybody was kinda surprised and shocked. I don't think the coaches were shocked because they knew I was an athlete, but I think everybody else was like,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Who is this
Yeah, who was this
guy?
guy? So, that's kinda where it all started. That's how my high school football thing kinda started, and they basically just, "Hey, you'll be a varsity starter first year, this and that," and I kinda ran it by my basketball coach, and he was kinda just blown away too, like, "What?" And so, I kinda just stuck with it. Most of my friends anyways are on the football team, so I just stuck with it. First year playing football, I had a great season, allowed no touchdowns, was like uh, top 11 corners in Kansas. I was getting phone calls from college coaches, and it was just all a shock to me. Because at that point in time, I didn't even have any interest yet in basketball. Because that was my junior year would have been my first year really getting that. So it was a shock getting offers and mail from Northwest Missouri State, which at the time I didn't even know who that was, but
Mhm.
reigning NCAA champions. So uh, pretty much all the big D2s and stuff like that on, off, 11 games and a summer of football.
Mhm.
So I knew at that point, I was like, okay, obviously I got something, but I'm kind of behind everyone else. I got a lot to learn, a lot to do. So that's what made me come to Parisi at that time and kind of just get some direction, get locked in, and kind of catch up to the guys that's been doing this their whole lives.
Right.
Um, Obviously, I had the ability. obviously I had the potential. I just gotta put the work in. So I had to put in double the amount of work than everybody else, and I knew that to be successful, and that's kind of what I did. And then after that summer or after that first season, I had Parisi, I had a full year of football, and that senior year I just walked in with so much more confidence, and just came out there and did what I did, and then ended up I started off, I committed to Emporia State.
Ooh.
Yeah, committed to Emporia State, and then I pretty much had any school I wanted to go to in the Division II MIAA conference. But I committed to Emporia State, and then I ended up taking a visit to the University of Central Missouri, and I just love what they had going on out there. A little bit farther away from home, but I was like, this would be a great opportunity for me. I like their facilities. I like what they got going on, so I ended up committing there, and I pretty much finished my college career there.
Yeah. No. Yeah, well, the first day he shows up here, like we, obviously had good conversation, and if one thing that I remember from that conversation, it was a while ago now, but you were, the easy way to say this is you were like humbly fearless, right? And that's why you and I like have always gotten along, because like you knew that you wanted more and you knew that you were willing to do the work, but like you were also like, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you just immediately kind of took to the idea of the fact that like, listen, like I just want to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, literally.
And that's kind of my mentality towards things in life too, is it's just like, dude, like I'll do the work. Like whatever the work is, like tell me the work, let's do the work, you know? And I think, in your story, like the pieces of that are very unique is you play ball, you're a hooper your whole life, and like you still are, right?
Yep.
Like you're still super skilled on the court.
Yeah.
And so to be able to step away from that because you did, like you fully committed to football, and you could have gone and played basketball at a lot of different places. Like it wasn't like that probably wasn't going to come eventually down the line because you were good enough to. It was just, you were locked in on something different and, locking down, dudes out there all over the place. And that was back when, nothing against football in this day and age. High school football is what it is. It has peaks and valleys with the way that it is. But the city league anyway back at that day was different. Like the city league then was super competitive.
Sure.
Like there was more competition across the board. Because there was less like transferring and there was less like powerhouse teams getting put together through the recruiting and the address nonsense and like all that. Like
your district was your district. Back in the day.
And so like you had what you had and like you made the best of it. And I think that made players better. And it made people elevate their game if they wanted to truly have a team that was, worth anything and being able to compete. And because you had some dogs, like, Dalen was a dog. Like he went to Butler right out of high school, I believe, right? And Butler's obviously a powerhouse football program. Cavante was there, and he's still balling right now. I want to get him on at some point because that dude's story is insane.
Crazy.
Dude, he's wild. But
tailback for friends, right?
Quarterback.
Yeah,
Quarterback. I mean, kind of a tailback too, but he does it all.
Multiple options.
Yeah, like that dude's unreal. And but like, so you got, like the team that was out there was competitive and, you had competition at all different levels back then. And so for you to like go all in on that as being like, hey, like I'm locking in and doing this, like part of that, my brain, or at least when I saw you in the mix, I was like, man, this dude's hungry for competition. Yeah. Like that's what it is. Like basketball is comfortable for you. When you step onto the football field, it's new. It's a little scary, but it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I know I got a skill set. I know I can do something. Like, let's get to work. So, and then we started putting together, our groups here with Parisi with you. He's one of the OG Parisi Select athletes. One from like that first group that I had of just like absolute animals in that group. Like it was insane. Like our training at that point in time was just something, it was so special. It was unique. Like we had a culture that was going on in that thing that's like, I think about that all the time because like, dude, them early mornings, like, bro, we would be in here like early, and life was different for me too because I didn't have kids. So like I could get up here at 5 a.m. and dude, this place was jumping at 5 a.m. Like it was intense. Like we had dudes pushing each other, and these were guys from all different walks of life. Like they were all different schools, all different things, some at the same, but like I mean, dude, everybody was just on each other. Like it
Yeah.
was just straight compete. You
Yeah.
know, that was the word. Every single day was they were in here competing. And so to watch that then spill over for you, and then okay, now we're talking about going to college,
Yep.
right? Like, you know, seeing these opportunities is, dude, Central Missouri's best Division II school in football,
Yeah.
cross country, like
Yeah.
without a doubt. And they should be a Division I program.
Yeah.
But you know, seeing you guys go there and then being able to check in with you while you're playing there, and like just seeing that journey kind of unfold, like it was awesome. I mean, they, you know, and they send guys to the league all the time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Central is they are strapped. Like they are good. Their facilities are amazing. Like they run an awesome program. So it's really cool to watch, you know, you put the work in to be able to go and do that, and then, you know, kind of see all that unfold. But and I'll ask a question out of that as well too. You know, your story's awesome, and you know, I mean, this guy, you know, like I said, he just worked. Like he worked all the time. You know, was constantly finding ways to make it happen. But you know, let's tap into that a little bit, because you know, hopefully we have some high school kids that'll listen to this and be able to hear and learn from your story.
Yeah.
You know, when you were making that transition, right?
Mhm.
Let's talk about, you know, from basketball to football, because that was obviously not easy.
Yeah.
You know, like what was kind of going through your head, and what was like the light bulb moment for you where you were like, all right, I'm in, like I'm going all in, like I'm gonna make this happen, and like let's just do it.
Yeah. I think it just was a new challenge for me. I like new challenges. I like the family feel of the football team, you know, the togetherness, the grind. It was more of a grind, which I love, you know, the hot summers, you know, the cold winters, you know, the sweating and all that, being outside with a helmet and stuff like that. So it was more of a grind. It definitely was tougher mentally and physically than basketball. So I like that. And then kind of just seeing, um, you know, I feel like in basketball, you know, one player can take over the game.
Mm.
In football, you know, if all 11 are not on the same board, then you know, you can't. So it was kind of more, I got to step into a bigger leadership role. Um, you know, it wasn't just about me. I had to make sure all 11 guys around me was, you know, doing the right thing too. So, you know, that's why I felt like that togetherness was, you know, a little bit more, and that kind of family feel, which I liked a lot. So, I really enjoyed that, and really just seeing, you know, everybody depended on everybody. And I like that the team was dependent on me. You know, I had to do my job. Everybody had to do their job to make it work. And, you know, when you do your job and everybody congratulating you and, you know, like that stuff, like it was a good feeling. So, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the adversity, you know, the competition and just literally everything it came with, and kind of just being the new kid on the block and, you know, having something to prove. Like you said, that team was great, filled with crazy athletes. I mean, really a bunch of D1 athletes that just didn't, you know, end up going D1. But yeah, being a part of that, and being a part of the city league at that moment, it was a lot of great athletes, a lot of great teams, you know, so being able to be the new kid on the block and having the opportunity to compete with those guys, like, you know, it was, you know, crazy, you know, can't
Yeah.
even put it into words. So
Yeah.
So
Why corner? Was there a, other than them just throwing you in there, which
Yeah.
I think is wild, because when you see you and like, you know, me, I guess in my brain, when I think back, like the first day I see you, like the way that you carry yourself, the way you move, like you know, when I'm looking at you from a technique standpoint,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like for me, I look at you and that fits, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Is that just how that happened? Like, did they just look at you and be like, yeah, you're a corner? Like, what
Yeah,
happened?
I think in football, I think that's kind of it is one of the toughest positions, but I think it's if you have the athletic ability, I think it's one of like the easiest positions just to get thrown into.
Mhm.
Just because, you know, you just got to really stay in front of a guy and really cover him. There's a lot more to it, but you know that was pretty much the basis. And like I said, you know, my first day playing, that was pretty much what he told me. He's like, you play defense, you're a good defender in basketball. Literally, it's the same exact thing. So I kind of literally just took that same exact thing. Like, there's no ball, but I'm at pretend like it's a ball, and I'm just stay in
Right.
front of this guy and make sure you don't catch the ball. So, you know, to me, it was kind of easy to comprehend,
Mhm.
pretty easy task. And then, you know, I had long arms. I was athletic. You got to be super athletic to play corner because, you know, you're moving backwards. You know, they're
Mhm.
moving forward and moving backwards. And it was a reaction thing. I had really good reaction time too. So, uh, that's kind of just what I stuck with. And my first year, literally, all they told me was to cover guys and don't let people catch. I didn't do any tackling. I wasn't, shedding any blocks. I couldn't tackle to save my life. And then that second year going into it, I learned a little bit more, and that's when it was, getting into, breaking the ball up, interceptions and tackling and
Right.
block shedding and, reading the splits of the receivers and all that type stuff. So just kind of like elevate my game from there. But yeah, that first year was just pretty vanilla. I just out there
Keep it
covering guys.
simple.
No touchdowns.
Yeah.
So did you when you gave football the full chance, did you leave basketball or did you still
Yeah,
stay as
so
a multi-sport athlete?
Yeah, I stayed a multiple sport athlete my junior year. And then going through like I was telling Sheldon before we started this, we was talking about just kids trying different sports and like kind of when you get into that junior year, senior year is kind of when you gotta like really focus on what you really wanted to do. Just because like I said, once you focus on that one sport, kids are doing that sport year round,
Yeah. The
So
recruiting cycle
yeah,
and
and
things
it's
like
like,
that, your junior
and
year
if you
really
do,
important.
if you're doing another sport, you're kind of taken away from that time. So I found out at that time, I'm like, man, like all the kids that I was playing with, that this is the time they're getting ready, they're getting bigger, faster, stronger, and I'm in
Mhm.
here, shooting hoops, which is good. I'm staying athletic and stuff, but it's like, they're getting recruiting, they're going on visits. That's the time, that's recruiting time. Basketball season is recruiting time for football. So, they're going on visits and stuff like that. So that kind of limited me from that. So junior year, I did play basketball, and then after that, I kind of just realized, I'm like, if I really want to play, I need to decide what I want to play in college. And I was like, I think I want to play football. And that going into that next year, like I said, that summer I was already getting calls from colleges and mail-ins. So I was like, yeah, I think this is a good decision. I just went all in on football. So senior year, strictly football. Um, the time that basketball would have been, like I said, that's big recruiting time. So that was when I figured out what college I really wanted to go to. So I was going on, all these types of visits. Coaches was coming in to see me every single day. I was in the weight room, trying to put on weight, getting ready for college, seeing what they needed from me and then, kind of going from there.
Yeah, so we see it all the time or hear it all the time watching the NFL how, oh, this guy was a basketball player but he
Yeah.
chose football. So what part of your basketball journey led you to be so talented at the position that you played? I mean, obviously you can jump out of a
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. It really just was, I think the things that I took from basketball that transferred over to football, was really just having really good footwork for one. Um, Also, when I did play basketball, I wasn't a I like physicality, so I wasn't a soft basketball player. I like physicality. I couldn't shoot, so I was always somebody driving to the lane. I had a quick first step. So I think the footwork really helped. Also just being, like I said, playing corner, I was a really good defender. Being able to shuffle, backpedal, run, all that, all those good things, helped me out a lot. And, rebounding, jumping up to get rebounds is kind of like the same thing as jumping up and catching a football. So, really just all those things kind of transferred over to me naturally. And, I just kind of stuck with it and kind of elevated those things.
Okay. And then in your football experience, did you ever do any corner blitzes?
I did not do any corner blitzes. I did do some safety blitzes. So, since we're on that topic, whenever I got into college, I started off playing corner, and then after that first year, like I said, I've always been physical. So, as physical as I was, and I had a bigger build, that second year, there was an opportunity for me to start at safety that next season. So I kind of transferred over. I moved to safety. That's kind of where I finished my career at safety.
So tell me your favorite time that who'd you light up and did what was it just like what was your celebration like?
So really, I never got to do a safe. I actually did get to do a safety blitz in a game. It didn't get executed how I wanted to. A lot of them did get executed in practice, but a big moment for me in my college career. There was a lot, man. I would have to say, man, there's so many. I mean, one that's just popping up. It wasn't nothing crazy, but it was kind of like I wouldn't say it was my first time playing, but it was versus Emporia State at Emporia State. This was 2019. This is my freshman season. And I kind of got thrown in there, and it was a fourth and I think like 4th and 3. And everybody knows Emporia State is a big, heavy, quick pass game, and I kinda just came in there. I was one-on-one in the slot, man to man, and we knew, that it was going to that guy, and it was just kinda like me versus him. And he was a senior at that time too, really good receiver, and, I locked him up, got a big pass breakup, and, that pass breakup actually helped us win the game because, they was going on a drive to go score again. So, I mean, that was one of the moments that I could think of that was, like, pretty that was one of the earlier moments, and I kinda think that really, like, sparked my confidence, getting kinda thrown in there as a freshman, big scenario, everybody know one-on-one man in that, on that island, like, is a big moment. So,
No touchdowns.
yeah, no touchdowns at all.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit. Talk about the, like your transition there to into college, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, I talk about this all the time, and I talked about it even when you trained with me. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys that are coming in, like I can prepare you as much as humanly possible, but when you show up in college, it's just different.
Mhm.
Like it don't matter how hard I am on you here. It doesn't matter how much we get to. Like it just the reality of it is I can prepare and prepare and prepare you, but when you show up on campus and that first practice kicks off, like it is a different speed
Yeah,
and
nah.
it's a different level. And I remember this, vividly, right? Like, cause high school, I didn't have anybody like me in my life.
Yeah.
And, I show up to college and I'm like, holy shit.
Yep.
Like, what did I get myself into? Like, cause I had no preparation,
Yeah.
like nothing. And, that's always been a passion of mine with what we do here at Parisi is like, especially with the select athletes, it's like, I'm gonna get you as ready as I can,
Yeah.
like because when you show up there, I don't want you to be the kid that's over there puking in the trash can. I don't want you to be the kid that's over there like shaking in his boots, like don't
Yep.
know what the hell's going on. Like I want you to walk in there and like, yeah, it's still gonna be hard,
Yeah.
but you're gonna have confidence,
Yep.
like you're gonna be a confident guy and be able to, step up when the opportunity shows up,
Yeah.
right? And not let it happen. So talk a little bit about that. Talk about that. You show up on campus, you get the ball going,
Yeah.
right? Like, how does it feel stepping onto the college field the first time? Because another thing that I think we talk about all the time, especially with higher level athletes, it's like, man, everything's crazy until you're on the field. And then
Yeah.
when you're on the field, it's like solace. Like, it's just
Yep.
like you feel like you're in the zone. You feel like that's where you belong, like
Mhm.
that type of stuff. So, talk about that transition. Talk about what you learned there. Talk about the struggles, just kind of the journey of that portion of things.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's crazy once you get in that college campus because it's like in high school, like I was the top, I was the top player, I was the top corner in Kansas on my team. I was the top corner on my team. I was one of the top defensive, players. So, going into college, you're around everybody that was the top player on every team, so it's like 50, so corner, for example, say we got, I come in with 4 corners. All those corners that came in from different areas, they were also the top corners on their team. It's no longer the big dog. Now it's like, I got something to prove to a new group of guys. So, that was just crazy. Obviously that's just way more competition. Um, Especially the class I came with, literally in the class that I came with, that 2019 class, Dominic Pooney, he was a 3rd round draft pick, starting offensive lineman right now for the 49ers. Ryan Flournoy actually played last night, Dallas Cowboys. He also got drafted, 5th round draft pick, 5th round draft pick. Zach Davison was on that team, 5th round draft pick, Buffalo Bills. So it's just like we had some guys that actually got drafted. Like we had it was a competitive
Some
team,
dudes.
Yeah.
super competitive team. Um, so going into that, that wasn't regular. Like UCMA had a class. I don't think nobody's been drafted since, those past 2 classes that I was in, but still had a lot of good teams. But yeah, it was crazy. And going in my first year, um, I still kind of had that confidence, but it's like there's more to it than just the confidence. There's more to it than just, knowing what's going on. Like you have to have the effort, you got to be locked in, all that type stuff. Coming in, they wanted me to play. I was one of the guys that wanted to play as a freshman. Uh, and I didn't do my part, and ended up playing. So that was super depressing going into that first year. It's like, dang, man, this is my first year not playing football. I just jumped in, everything was kind of going good, and that was my first time getting hit with adversity. So it's like, I needed to elevate my game. It was a whole different speed and everything. So pretty much same thing I did, coming in my junior year, locking in with you is kind of the same thing I did out there. Is like, I got to grind. I got to get to it. I got to you got to create that separation because everybody's the same. Everybody's showing up to practice every day. So it's like, what can I do that everybody else isn't doing?
Mhm.
That was the minimum to show up to practice and show up to weights. So you had to do something else to kind of separate yourself. So that summer, going into my would have been my red shirt freshman year, going into that 2019 season, I just grinded that whole summer while, people are, at home kicking it at the lake. I was at UCM, literally grinding. I think I came down here a couple times,
Mhm.
got some work in too. But yeah, I was just grinding. Even that winter, we was grinding. That was a
Mhm.
big grind. Um, and that created the opportunity for me to be, start as a redshirt freshman or play as a redshirt freshman. It was only like maybe 2 or 3 of us that played as redshirt freshmen, so, it was rare. People don't know how rare it is, to either be a true freshman or play as a redshirt freshman. A lot of kids, don't play until their senior, junior year, later on. So, it was cool to get that opportunity, but, I earned it. I had to work. But yeah, it was just a different mentality. Being on the field for the first time, I was kinda calm, and the reason I was calm is because I created that confidence from the work I put in. I'm like, I've been doing this all summer. Like, I feel like when I stepped on the field, the guy I was looking across from, you haven't worked harder than me. You haven't put in
Mhm.
more work than me. I've been doing this, so I walked in with a lot of confidence, and that's what also created that opportunity for me to play.
Yeah.
Um, and that team that I was on, that was that 2019 team, and that was our first time going to the playoffs in a long time. We won the MIAA championship, so it was a good time to play. That also helped build my confidence. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, man. Well, I remember you not playing
Yeah,
because there was a lot of conversations between us about that because that's hard.
yeah,
You know what I
it
mean? Like,
is.
I mean, straight up, like, I think you hit it on the head. Like, we've heard that from other athletes that we interview as well too. Like, dude, when you show up to a college campus, everybody's the best kid.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and people just don't get that. Like, if you don't have college experience, whether that be your parents, whether that be people around you, like your circle, whatever, they don't get it. Like,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
understand the level that it
Different.
elevates. It's different, and it doesn't matter what college it is. Like,
Yeah,
it literally doesn't.
all
Like,
levels.
all of them. And so when you show up there, you get hit in the face real fast.
Yeah,
And so there's a lot that goes through that. Now you add in, right? Not only is that the situation, but then you add in now you're going to get sat. Like, so they're telling you straight up to your face you ain't good enough.
yeah,
That's a mental
mhm,
battle. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that is something that you ain't heard ever in your life
yeah,
because you've always played, no matter
yep,
what level, where at,
yeah,
youth ball, basketball, doesn't matter.
yeah,
Like, and then so you show up to that. So there's some transition that happens there, and that adversity is really where you see, especially good athletes start to elevate themselves. And you did the one thing that you can do, right? And you also said something that I talk about a lot, which part of that I enjoy hearing from athletes in general. But it's like, dude, if you want different results, you got to do different
yeah,
stuff. Like,
yeah,
and everybody overcomplicates that. Like,
mhm,
showing up to weight, showing up to practice,
yeah,
that's just expected. Like,
yeah,
that's the bare minimums, right?
literally.
So these high school kids that are out here, and it starts with parents probably more so than the kids, but I hear it all the time from parents, like, that we talk to. They're like, oh, well, we got our high school weights, we got our high school this, high school that, blah, blah. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
Like, okay. Like, you know what I mean? So does everybody else.
yeah,
Like, and the thing
everybody doing the
is,
same thing.
yeah, if you want, like, if you want those results, then keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah,
but you ain't playing in college.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and don't try to tell me that you want to play in college if you're
mhm,
not willing to do the stuff that's outside of that norm,
yep,
because that norm, it's already, the odds to play in college are already tiny,
yeah,
like very, very small. But
yep,
then if you tell me that that's all that you're doing, the odds of those players making it out of high school to college are
mhm,
even smaller.
yep,
And people just don't want to accept that as a reality. And it's just like, man, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel for you. I'm just
yeah,
trying to give you the opportunity to do something different.
yep,
And, you have to separate yourself as an athlete to be able to get the results that you say that you want.
mhm,
And it's all about that, right? Like, it's all about understanding, like, hey, if I want stuff that's different, I got to do stuff that's different. Like, and it ain't got to be overcomplicated. Like, it's literally that. And those conversations, I remember you coming back in the winter, like, you're here on break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But break is training 4 to 5 days a week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Locked in the morning, still staying on the routine, still waking up early, still there. Because as soon as you go back, everybody else is sluggish and tired.
Yep.
And they've been partying for, 6 weeks, like going and doing dumb stuff. And now you're locked in, and coaches notice that.
Yeah.
Coaches are like, dang, like, this dude's ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Spring ball's, 2 weeks away, and
Yep.
this dude's locked in. Like, he wants to be on the field.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what separates you, because coaches, especially football, like, they're a year in advance all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they ain't worried about right now. Right now was worried about a year ago.
Yeah.
Right. Like, when they're in the right now, they're worried about next year.
Yep.
And that's the other part that, the common person just doesn't understand, all of the planning and all the things. And not only that happens, but then they have to prepare for all of the stuff that they can't control as well, too, right? Injuries, guys decide to do something else because that happens. And I know you battled with some injuries as well, too. I mean, football's a physical sport, but what meant more to you? Well, getting on the field meant more to you. You know what I mean? Finding a way to play and finding a way to be on that field as long as you could be on it. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, again, with super proud of the way that you battled through that in college, and took the initiative to, say that, hey, I ain't gonna feel sorry for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't gonna sit here and whine and cry. It ain't the coach's fault, right? It isn't the program's fault. Because you look around your program there, everybody's a winner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody in that locker room is all about it, right?
Yeah.
So you can sit there and dwell upon it, or you can do something about it. And you know what I mean? And you did something about it, and that's why you were able to, kind of chase that and have the success that you did. But so, again, proud of you, man. Like, super excited to see that all come to fruition, not only as your athletic career, but then, moving forward, obviously, into just your life and things that are happening there. So I definitely want to talk about that, because that's what I'm excited about. I was actually, just so everybody understands this and everybody knows this, I'm gonna put this on record. I was the first out the way customer. Okay, I was number one, the first purchase. Okay, I got the shirt in my closet, so none of y'all can take that from me. I'm actually gonna make him sign. I should have brought the T-shirt today. I'm gonna get his signature on it. Okay, the resale value on that's probably crazy, but okay, I was the number one. Okay, so do not forget that.
You have to let him write that. You have to make him write that on there.
I support my
first
people.
purchase ever, and then it can go on our swag.
That's right. Yeah, I need to get it up here. Yes, 100%.
We'll have to find you a Parisi something that we've designed recently.
There you go. Yeah, we need a little collab. I like that.
Just put that together and go from there, because we did finally do some hats.
Yeah, see?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're rookies in the game, but that's okay. But yeah,
let's moving up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, right? So football, obviously, you hang up the cleats, right? And and this is the part, is another big part of athletic journeys, right? This is the part that's going to hit everybody. It just comes at a different time, right? And there's nobody talks about this enough, which is why we try to highlight it as much as we can, right?
Absolutely.
There is a true athletic depression. I don't know what the word is, or I don't even know if they have a word for it, but there is a true missing element to athletes' lives when they stop playing their sport, right? Because we get so engulfed into routine and being consistent in the discipline of the day-to-day, not only with school, but also with, the school work, the practices, right? Just all of the stuff. And so talk us through that a little bit, because obviously, coming out of college, you're finishing up college, you're away from home. So you got some crossroads there of like what you're going to do, where you're going to go, kind of a thing. But then obviously, you took some initiative and were like, you know what, like I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do my thing, and be able to kind of, get the ball rolling with that. So talk about that journey a little bit. Let's talk about, your company and what it is that you're doing, and, where everything's kind of rolling there.
Yeah. So just to start off, I own a clothing brand called Out the Way Studios, streetwear clothing brand, unisex, kind of just, urban streetwear, was really, I tell myself I'm kind of ahead of the needle. I kind of create stuff that will be popular within like a year or within 6 months, just because I'm into fashion like that. But like Sheldon knows, when I used to come in here, work out, like I always had, some type of swag, the shorts and all that stuff. Like I always been into fashion. I implemented in all areas of my life, didn't matter what was going on. So, it was cool to be able to, create clothes for other people to wear. Like Sheldon said, he was one of the first customers. I got my first T-shirt made literally in Wichita, Kansas, like 50 T-shirts made. Got the sample, brought it up here to Parisi. Sheldon bought it right on the spot. And that obviously that T-shirt is kind of what started everything and took off and restocked that multiple times and it sold out. So that's cool to see that like the first design that I ever thought of, was one of my, biggest ones still to this day. Um, but yeah, the journey was kinda crazy. I started that clothing brand, it was 2021, 2022, my bad, when I first started it. I started it in college. I kinda started over that winter break when I was here. It was just kinda something that was circling my, my brain, and I was just like, what if I can create clothes, I can have full creative direction over what I wanna make, instead of, going to go buy these other brands and stuff like that, like, create clothes and create for other people to buy. So I kinda started that over break, while I was doing football still. Um, and then getting into going back to college, it was easier, during that break, to kinda get things going, but because I only had, I had training and then I had, the clothing brand. But then going to college, then you got school and practice and stuff like that, so it was a little harder than I thought. I kinda did, like, probably, like, 4 or 5 drops, and then I kinda was like, football and school is kind of more important to me now. Like I want to graduate and I want to continue to play. Like my goal in football was to be All American. I wanted to win a national championship. So it was like, I was kind of juggling two things, and it was like I'm gonna kind of put this one down for a little bit, fully lock in on sports and school because that was going into my junior year. So, excuse me, going to my junior year, so I was like, I'm gonna kind of lock in on these two things and I'll pick it back up. So I kind of, did those couple drops, they did what they did. And then I kind of just took a break. I took a year break really. And I started things back up June 2023. So June 2023, that was going into my senior season. Um, and I was coming off an injury. The injury and the rehab didn't go as planned. I was still, dealing with it. It was kind of like a lingering injury. I wasn't moving the same how I was moving. So I was kind of thinking like, obviously football's coming to an end. Obviously this injury is preventing me from, prolong. I mean, I probably could have still played professional football or some type of professional football after, but it was just kind of like, it was a decision to make. Um, Going into that season, a lot of people actually don't know this. So going into that season, I actually played the brand was doing really, really well at that time. I actually played 2 games. So I played 2 games and I was kind of thinking, I was like, I graduate in December, we're in September. The clothing brand is having some success. Obviously football is coming to the end, and then I'm not having the success I used to have just because of this injury and kind of the things, going on. And like you said, football coaches are, all were already ahead. So, they're thinking like, okay, well, he's a good player, but his career is coming to an end and we got these players behind him and stuff like that. And he was like, that's the future. So he's like kind of focusing on them. So I kind of knew that. I was real with myself. Um, and so that after that second game, I was like, I had texted my coach and I was like, yo, I want to have a conversation. And so that next morning, we kind of walked around the track, me and my coach, Coach Lamberson. And before I even started, he kind of just let me know, how he felt about me. And I didn't tell him anything. I literally just told him I want to have a conversation. We kind of walked around the track and he kind of let me know, like, you know, I think your purpose on this earth is to impact, to impact others, and obviously with football, I had the opportunity to impact, 100 something guys. Kind of everybody looked up to me, no matter if it was on the field or off the field, just kind of how, cause I carried myself. But he told me that. And so when he told me that, that kind of really gave me confidence and triggered that like this clothing brand and this clothing stuff could really take off and give me an opportunity to impact like the whole world, because it's e-commerce, it's the whole entire world. I get orders from. I just shipped the order last week to Israel. So it's like I'm shipping orders to the UK. I'm shipping orders to Chicago, literally everywhere. I done shipped to every state, almost every country. So it was crazy. So when he kind of told me that, I'm like, wow. And it was like, right now I got this small platform, but it could be bigger. So after he kinda told me that, I kinda told him how I was feeling and my things, and he was like basically the conversation was, like, I want to basically dive all into, the clothing brand stuff in the fashion industry, I knew football was coming to an end. Like I said in December, I want to kind of get ahead and kind of set myself up. Because everybody knows, like, once you're done with football, like, it's hard. Like you said, like the athlete depression, like, trying to get a job or, do it. And I kind of had it all figured out already. And I was like, I kind of want to get ahead. So he basically told me, like, I'll give you 2 weeks to kind of think about it. You don't have to come to practice or anything like that, kind of just think about it because, that's the respect he had for me at the time. Um, and so I kinda thought about it, and I'm like, "Yeah, I think I wanna dive all into the clothing brand," which I'm actually glad I made that decision because I ultimately, like, got me to where I'm at today. If I didn't take that 2, 3 months of, really building and digging in and learning all the ins and outs and, how to really run a business, I probably wouldn't be able to live, just off clothes. Also, whenever I did take that break, opportunity came, for me to kinda style NFL athletes, become a wardrobe stylist. One of the former players here from Wichita, Breece Hall, kinda reached out to me, and he kinda seen, my fashion, my style, and he kinda liked what I was doing. He kinda wanted to elevate his image, because at that level, everything is, really about money. So, we want to maximize your image as much as possible. So basically, he seen what I was doing myself and he was like, I want to maximize, that can bring brand deals and all types of stuff like that. So I started to work with him literally that like September or October of 2023. Literally right after I quit football, and that was a great opportunity. And I flew to New York and started working with him, and then yeah, just built from there, just brick by brick, and now I'm here.
Yeah, man. No, that
Dude.
that portion of stuff's awesome. Obviously, shout out to Brees because he, put Wichita on the map,
Yeah.
in that aspect too. I mean, one of the guys that has, and dude's a great athlete, super humble kid.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
dude, like he's a cool dude. I don't know him great personally, but
Yeah.
just like his image and like
Yeah.
seeing him. So the things that you're talking about,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like he seems like he's doing everything the right way.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's important because obviously life gets going quick at that level.
Yep.
And you see dudes fall off,
Yeah, quick.
real quick. And so to see that, I think that speaks to our community and our values here and the type of people and that type of stuff. So I always want to recognize that. But what else or who else, right? Like, so
Yeah.
like obviously that's been a big thing for you here
Yeah.
lately, right? Working with guys in the NBA, like working
Yep.
NFL guys, like, so you really kind of pump the effort into that, right? Being
Yeah.
able to showcase and kind of do that stuff. And for you, I would guess, I mean, that's probably a dream come true. You
Yeah,
know what I
for
mean?
sure,
Like
yeah.
for you being able to highlight your creative direction,
Yep.
out there with some other people. Because I'll be the first to tell you, this dude would show up to workouts and some stuff. I'd be like, what?
What is this?
Like,
Yeah,
I ain't that guy,
remember.
right? Like, I'm not him, and I'm straight up honest about that. So, he would be showing up in some stuff, and I'd be like, dude, what are we doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, and and then he'd basically strip it all off and get into athletic clothes, and I'm like, all right, cool. But like this dude, obviously people see that stuff, and
Yeah.
they want that creative direction from you to obviously showcase, like you said, so that way they can put an image of themselves
Yep.
out there, professional, but also stylish.
Yeah.
And like, there's a whole different dynamic that goes into that when you're
Yeah.
at that level. So tell us a little bit about, some of the people that you've worked with,
Yeah.
some of the, the names that are out there that have kind of, reached out to you, you've
Yeah.
reached out to, and how does that process kind of work? Like without like obviously giving too many things,
Yeah.
but like what's the mentality there?
Yeah, so to start off, just some of the guys I've done work with, it's been like this journey has been crazy, and it's moved really fast. Sauce Gardner, Christian Braun, Denver Nuggets, Debo Samuel, that was just recently this year. Just reached out through, via Instagram, D lineman for the Chicago Bears, Xavier Worthy. After really, I think not this next game or the game after that, I'm actually trying to get him in the photo shoot for my clothing brand also next week. So that's kind of like a kind of giving y'all a little,
There you go.
little,
Yeah.
little preview.
Yeah.
But so that'll be dope. Bobo, had him shoot for the brand, working with him and stuff like that too. Just a bunch of guys, Ashton Davis, Miami Dolphins. There's just been so many. It's been a great opportunity, but really kind of how it works is, I mean, kind of when I started off, I kind of started off. Obviously, I started off with Brees. That was a good player to start off with. We already kind of had a relationship.
Yeah.
We were from the same area and stuff like that. But when you get into that industry, it's not all about styling. You want to with everything. It's relationship building.
For sure.
You want to, kind of create that. To me, it was kind of creating that family feel and kind of creating that brotherhood. So, uh, I think a lot of guys like work with me just because, like, they can relate. I got an athletic background. I'm around their age and stuff like that too. So, it's more than just styling. I got a lot more I could bring to the table just in putting the outfit together for you. But pretty much how it works is starting off, I was reaching out to athletes, but now they kind of reach out to me because I kind of built my platform and built my resume. But they'll reach out, we'll kind of have a conversation of kind of like what I provide and what I can do. And basically what I kind of provide is, wardrobe styling, which that's kind of like recreating a wardrobe for an athlete, something that they're comfortable in, and something that can show their creativity, and something that can help elevate them. Because, like I said, everybody kind of knows, the camera's on you, at all times, and you're kind of judged off what you wear, and how you look and how you show up to games and stuff like that. So, kind of just working on that, trying to elevate that part of their career. Um, and then from there, I also do like personal shopping. So it's like these athletes, they got money to spend, obviously, and they got a lot of stuff going on, but they don't have time to go really shopping for real like that. They got a bunch of other stuff to worry about. So I done built connections with a bunch of different stores and private showrooms and kind of all this stuff. And they kind of just reach out to me, and I kind of know what they like already. And then I kind of have like my options as well. Like, hey, I think this will look good, or I think this will be a cool piece for you to grab. And they kind of just, kind of go through me, and I kind of just do all their shopping for them as well. So that's kind of like another part of it that I kind of added. Um, and they kind of go hand in hand, the styling and the personal shopping is like, I'm buying you stuff that eventually, like, I'm gonna end up styling you in, kind of curating your closet or kind of changing around. Um, and then, we kind of just plan out, depending on who you are, what game it is it a Thursday night primetime game when there's gonna be big lights, like, we wanna really, do something flashy or something that's gonna be eye catching, or is it just a travel game, you wanna be more comfortable, is it a home game, it's the first home game, you kinda wanna set the tone. Um, so we kinda plan from there, depending on the weather, are you playing in Miami, or are you playing in Buffalo, so, uh, we kinda plan and, just some athletes, they do, a fit every game through the whole season. Some athletes, they just want to look for, this one game, kind of like Debo, he just wanted to look for the first game, kind of pop out. He might spin the block again and do another one. Maybe if they make the playoffs or something like that. But, that's just kind of how it goes. But that's pretty much it, I just, pretty much curate their closet. We plan out an outfit, they get the outfit, make sure everything fits, everything works, it looks good, and then they put the outfit on, and then, obviously they get all the pictures taken, I use the photos and, kinda use them on my resume and on my pages and promote it, and we just go from there.
Yeah, no, that's I mean,
So,
awesome.
so
Because
just
guys are just
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's crazy to think about how much goes into all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because these are, like you said, like they're busy. They got
Yep.
all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
You couldn't catch me caring about what I was putting on.
Yeah, literally.
Like, you
Right.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, but when you think of the image and you think of all of the stuff, like they gotta care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's not something they just get to like not care about.
Yep.
And so like there's a need for something like
Yeah.
that. But then they also like once they see it, like they want to like it.
Yep.
So-
like they don't want to put it on and not
Mhm.
like it.
so just thinking about this, so and so shows up to the field, check out, like, I guess the other day Joe Burrow showed up,
Mhm.
and of course they're like, check out this outfit.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah,
like you
that's me.
do that
Yep.
stuff, and that's super cool. That has a global reach.
Yeah, for sure.
So
A huge one.
how does, I mean, when I think of the small footprints that we have, locally and nationally and sometimes internationally with the baseball stuff we do, how does that make you feel? Like, do you feel like you've got to where you wanted to be? Like it's your dream job. It's fulfilling in every way.
Yeah, yeah. Everything I do right now is fulfilling in every way. It's just what I've been. I've been in the fashion since a kid, and it's kind of like I'm able to, one, on the clothing brand side, create clothes for other people to wear, create clothes for myself to wear. And then on the wardrobe stylist side is kind of creating clothes and using my creative direction for other people to wear, on a bigger level, kind of more individual. So it's super fulfilling, crazy great feeling. Like, one, seeing all your work come together, but then also getting that praise from these athletes. Like, man, like everybody was asking about my outfit, or man, I got this deal coming up, now this brand is reaching out to me. Now these people want to send me free clothes, and just off of one outfit and stuff like that. A great example would be like somebody like Stephon Diggs, like he took fashion seriously. Now he has a collab with Asics.
Mhm.
Once you once you're, and that's outside of football, for everybody knows football doesn't last forever. So it's like when you're at that level, you have a huge platform. You want to maximize it as much as possible while you're there. That way you can create opportunities outside of football. So whenever you're done with football, you can put clothes on and be in fashion for the rest of your life until you die, and be somebody that's memorable in it. But yeah, so that's kind of like my goal, is kind of getting those guys like opportunities outside of football, to be able to work with.
So do you only do like in season fits, or
Nah, we do out. Yeah, we do.
like if they're gonna go out to a nice
Yeah.
dinner, or
Yeah.
maybe SBs or
Yeah.
whatnot?
Yeah, it just depends on the guy for real. It depends. Like, I've done in season, I've done postseason stuff too. The postseason is more like, maybe if I'm going out, I want something to wear, go out, or, I got this event to go to, or, I got a commercial to do with Nike or something, like, can you put me to something together? Or I got an interview to do, or I got a podcast to do, I want to look nice, so I've done stuff like that too. There's work postseason and there's work in season.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say the postseason stuff is a little bit more quiet, a little bit more behind the scenes. It's not as, big. And then the in season is kind of where I kind of get my shine.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And playoff fits, what would be one of your favorites?
Playoff fits. So I haven't worked with, so Brees is one of the top clients. Obviously that was like my first client. Obviously the Jets, they have not made the playoffs, sadly. Um, but hopefully the Chiefs can make it. And if they can make it, I can work some stuff with Rashid Rice, get something going for him. But yeah, I have not did a playoff fit yet. Obviously that'd be a really cool opportunity, just because, that's even bigger platform,
Right.
there's less teams. The games are bigger, it means more, a lot more eyes on you. Uh so yeah, hopefully coming up in this upcoming playoff season,
Sure.
I get a playoff fit going.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You'll have to let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, hey,
Dave's got a Christmas party coming up that I might hit you up for.
Yeah,
I don't-
Get him some threads. Get him locked in, bro. He'll be walking in.
I don't have a Christmas party. to
Yeah,
go
he's got a
to.
big Christmas party pulling up
No,
here
I
pretty
don't.
soon. So I'm gonna get him dressed to the
together,
nines.
yeah.
Canceled.
Yeah.
Canceled it.
He'll be rocking some out the way, baby.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. Well, no, dude, it's awesome. Like, your story it's amazing. It's cool to see the transition. It's cool to see the confidence, obviously, and because at the end of the day, like, starting anything, especially starting a business,
Mhm.
like, dude, you gotta have grit and confidence, and just being able to not quit,
Yeah.
and that's the honest truth is, because I've watched this from the beginning when you had your first drop, right?
Mhm.
Then I've watched you package and ship things for the
Yeah.
past 3, 4, 5 years, where it's just like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're doing all of the legwork in
Yeah.
between, and people, like, the common, where you talk about your platform, you talk about the people looking in, like, they see the fun stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? They see the sideline passes, they see the
Mhm.
how you get to go hang out with some cool people,
Yeah.
like, go to the shops in New York, like, go do all the
Yeah.
stuff, which I think is awesome. Like, I see that stuff too.
Yeah.
But I also know, the behind the scenes of you staying up all night, packing orders for
Yep.
6, 7 hours by yourself.
Yeah.
You're sick, but you're still doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the non-glamorous stuff that
Yeah.
the people don't get to see unless you know who they are.
Mhm.
And so that's the part of it that I'm proud of, seeing you do is
Yeah.
it's like, man, it's really cool to see somebody who's just locked in on what they want
Yeah.
and being able to continue to push through the hard stuff.
Yep.
Because you're an anomaly in that aspect, right? Most businesses aren't successful, right?
Yeah.
Most businesses don't find ways to adapt.
Mhm.
They don't find ways to fix or solve problems.
Yeah.
They don't find ways to, keep pushing themselves forward.
Yep.
And you're in that process right now, and you're seeing
Mhm.
all of that kind of come to fruition, and you're getting to bump elbows with, high level, athletes, but
Yep.
also, company executives,
Yeah.
people that are out there doing things. So you position yourself, to do something that you're super passionate about,
Yeah.
something that you love doing,
Mhm.
and you get to enjoy your work.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I made that decision for myself when I was, in the same, like, before I knew you, but I knew that I wanted to enjoy what I do. I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to love my life. I knew that I wanted to have the process be able to, to pave the way for me to be able to actually not be, stressed in life every day,
Yeah.
and get to enjoy my family and get to enjoy the things. And there's an immense amount of risk that goes into that
Yeah.
in the beginning. And
Yeah.
people don't understand that. Like,
Nah.
people don't see what it is.
Mhm.
And, so to see that happen for you, and especially the transitions through your game and all of those things is, it's that portion of things is awesome. And, so I'm proud of you. It's fun to watch it happen. And, I think you're doing great things, and I think you got more good things to come.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it really is just the beginning. Like you're learning,
Yeah.
and you're developing, and I think that there is plenty more that's going to come on the table for you, and I'm just excited to be here to support you and be here to to watch it all happen.
I'm
Yeah,
going to need some
appreciate it.
Niners on that list. Devo's not a Niner anymore.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, and
No.
where the hell the Packers, man?
Yeah,
I'm
man,
gonna call
let's,
Golden.
let's,
I need to get somebody. I need to get somebody on there,
Let's
man,
see.
just so I can get a connection.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the Dolphins are cool, but
yeah.
I mean, but 49ers, Packers.
Well, yeah, actually it's funny that you said 49ers. One of the guys that I got recruited with and went to UCM with, he actually Dominic Pooney.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm sitting
sorry.
over here like, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, so we've had conversations of he's obviously early in his career.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about what he's wearing at all, but it's coming to the point to where he's kind of getting a little bit more shine, a little
hear
bit more
his name a
limelight.
lot
Yeah, you're starting to hear his
recently,
name
yeah.
a lot. So it's kind of like when you get into that position, like I said, you want to maximize as much as possible. And we've had some talks, and it's just kind of like waiting for the right time. So yeah,
Big Trent.
too. Yeah,
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams. Yeah. I mean, he has a stylist. I watched that show.
Yeah.
But I'm just
a
saying,
lot of those
like,
guys do. Yeah, a lot of the, and it's crazy. I mean, from the rappers to the NBA players, NFL players, actors, like all these people have stylists. Like,
SGA?
once you get into the industry, it's like, wow, this
Yeah.
guy has a stylist. A lot of us are behind the scenes,
Oh, for sure.
And some guys, even some guys that I worked with, a lot of guys don't want to even be posted. A lot of, I'll work with a guy and he'd be like, hey, like, I don't want to be posted, but, let's do some work. Obviously, like, I'm not going to say any names, but yeah, like a lot of guys like that. And you just got to respect it. And he's like, it's work at the end of the day. And,
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the day for me, it's like, I don't really care about the posting. It's just about the work. If I'm getting paid and making the money, still creating a connection. That's really all I care about at the end of the day. If I get to post it, that's just a plus
Even
and a
better,
bonus.
yeah.
But hey,
just reflecting on all that we've talked about today, each time in your life that you had adversity or a challenge, you've always set the tone for excellence.
Yep.
And that's super cool, man.
Yeah.
Like it took me 15 years in the corporate world to really think that I could make a difference.
Mhm.
And then this guy talked to me and said, let's change the world.
Yeah.
And here we are today. And I mean, looking at your story, I remember seeing you coming in. I didn't pay attention back then. I was just trying to lock in to get things moving and stuff like that. But dude, it's super cool to see what you've done and where it's gonna go.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely, man.
excited to see that. And
Well, I got two more things.
Mhm.
Number one, first question is, what's on the horizon,
Yeah.
right? So, like, obviously, if there's things you can't say, I understand that. But, like, what, for somebody who's like, man, I'm going to go look this up, kind of plug all your stuff real quick,
Yeah.
number one. But then number two, like, tell people, because obviously it's a big day today for you. Obviously being on our podcast, huge. But no, he's you got Black Friday today, which is a massive thing for you guys. So I appreciate your time, right? Because coming in obviously on a busy day is a big thing. But plug your stuff, and then also, what are some stuff that people can look forward to, right? Like where are you kind of pushing to, kind of set yourself apart in the industry?
Mhm.
Obviously, the athlete side, everybody's
Yeah.
interested in that, and that's cool. But like, what are you doing on the brand side? Like, what are the things that are kind of coming up?
Yeah. So obviously, like Sheldon said, today's Black Friday, one of the biggest days for, e-commerce stores. Like they say, on Black Friday, you kind of make whatever you made throughout the whole year, you kind of either double that on Black Friday or, quadruple it, depending on. So you got to really take advantage of the opportunity. So yeah, I do have a drop today. Actually, 2 hours is when my website opens, otwstudios.com. Everything I actually got on is new. That's what's dropping. Got the beanies, got the full red set, got a bunch of other stuff on there. But with the brand stuff, I've been trying to build. I think it's big to build community. I'm a big community guy. So what I've been doing, actually this year I had my first very pop-up. It started in Vegas for NBA Summer League. So I went out to NBA Summer League, brought my clothes down there, set up in a suite at the Aria Hotel, and, kind of just reached out to guys. And it was a bunch of NBA guys that came through, UNLV players, just a bunch of just everybody kind of come through, kind of creating that community, letting people put a face with a name, meet me, meet the owner, seeing that, I'm just a regular guy. I'm a cool guy. Uh, that just makes cool clothes and stuff like that. So it started in Vegas, and then I did one in Kansas City. That was in October. Yep, I did one in Kansas City in October. Kind of rented out the whole store, changed around, did the vinyl prints and literally everything. Kind of made it my store. We had free flash tattoos and open bar and all types of stuff. So kind of just giving a open space for people to kind of network, connect, buy clothes, do whatever they want. And then actually next week, I'm going to Miami for Art Basel, which is like a big art event out there in Miami. And I'm having a pop up out there at Soul Garden. So that'll be December 6th, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. In Miami. So this will be my first time, not my first time in Miami, but my first time in Miami having a pop up. So
Yeah.
that'll be cool. Um, and then kind of on the brand side too, like me and Sheldon was talking about before this, is I'm starting a YouTube. So I'm kind of trying to do storytelling, kind of just giving people more in depth of my life, kind of like what goes behind the scenes. Cause like you said, everybody thinks it happens overnight. It doesn't. They don't see the long hours, kind of right now I'm a one man army, but I am eventually going to try to build a team. So kind of building that YouTube so people can kind of see the ins and outs. And I've kind of only shown the brand side so far, but going into really next month, I'm gonna try to get some style and stuff in there so kind of people can see that side of my life too. And then also I'm trying to build my personal brand. I kind of started off just doing, just the clothing brand stuff and then there's the styling stuff. But then I seen the opportunity to kind of make money myself too, like I'm a brand myself. So, building my socials, doing stuff like this, podcast, YouTube, TikTok, literally all the social media platforms, going out to events and networking like Complex Con. I just left Complex Con, Las Vegas, networking with different guys and connecting with people. Just stuff like that. So that's kind of what's coming up. I got the pop up next week in Miami. I got the drop today. The YouTube started like a month ago. I've dropped 2 episodes so far. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, it's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of the same topic there, but you're connecting.
Yeah.
Like, and you're going out, you're going to these places. Like, there's probably people out there, even me, and I sit there and think like, oh man, I would fly into Miami with a trunk full of clothes and just be like, hey, what's up? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, like, but that
Yeah.
you're fearless.
Yeah.
Like you're not afraid of doing that. Now, granted, you're
Mhm.
connected. The people. Like
Yeah.
you have some brand and following and
Mhm.
some stature there. But the reality of it is like you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yep.
You ain't sending, 6, 7 people out there to
Yeah,
go and do
literally.
it, kind of a thing. So you get a hide back home kind of a
Mhm.
deal. Like you're pulling up. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna go be there. You're gonna talk to people,
Mhm.
shake hands, say what's up.
Yeah.
Like you're about what you say you're about,
Yep.
and that's and I think that authenticity is really why, you get a lot of connection with people
Yeah.
and you get a lot of things that move the direction is because you care about it.
Yeah.
Like you don't it sounds so cliche to talk about, like money is just the money,
Mhm.
and money is always just the money. I think,
Yeah.
like you have to care, and
Yeah.
if you care, then the cause happens, like
Yeah.
and it starts to go because it spawns from that. And So that's awesome to see, and it's cool. So my second question to kind of follow up on that
Mhm.
one, and I ask everybody that we have on this is, like for the people, hopefully, we got some youngins that watch this, right? So that high school kid,
Yeah.
somebody who's trying to do something with their lives and they want to do something different. What would be, kind of your big, piece of advice? Like, what would be your thing that if you could look back at, Key as a junior,
Mhm.
right? Like, in seeing how life's kind of played out, like what would you tell yourself then, right? Like, what would be the thing that you would want to tell somebody else coming up, like a mentorship, and try to help them and move along in their journey?
Yeah. My big thing, and I think what really got me here is obviously consistency and hard work. But just being true to myself. Like you said, being authentic. I feel like a lot of kids, you kind of get influenced, you try to fit in, but uh, it's cool to be yourself. It's cool to be, just do you, do what you like to do. And people are gonna just support and follow. Instead of trying to be cool and trying to fit in, doing what everybody else is doing, just kind of it's okay to be the oddball out. Like you said, me coming in, like, I wasn't afraid to, come in here and express myself when it came to fashion and stuff. Like, I didn't look like everybody else, but like that was just me, like that. And like I said, like obviously you accepted it and it was like a, family feeling here and everybody kind of accepted it and everybody, like, and then you start to look and it's like, man, that's kind of cool, like he's just doing him, that's just him. And that impacts more people than you think, when, you kind of move like that. And it was kind of the same exact thing in college. I was doing the same exact thing, ever since, I was a kid, it was the same exact thing, with the fashion, just me being me. So that was probably the one thing, cause especially with social media nowadays, a lot of kids get influenced. Everybody want to be like everybody, I want to be like him, I want to be like, it's just
Mhm.
like stay in your lane and be yourself. And, like those will create opportunities itself. And it's like, you'll eventually find your path, like what you're meant to do, but do what you like to do, be yourself, be authentic, and everything else will kind of follow.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great advice. That's great advice because people they tend to lean towards, influence too much,
Yeah.
and they feel it, right? Sometimes in their gut, in their mind, in their heart, like they feel the way that they want to go, but they're too afraid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it boils down to fear many, many times, not
Yep.
all the time. And there's a lot of variables that play into that. It's not a one size fits all thing, I guess. But the reality of it is be who you are, be true to yourself, have confidence.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that with the people around you, find them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go find the people that want to support you.
Yeah.
Find the people that want to be your family. Find the
Yep.
people that want to see you be successful,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't look at that success and envy it, right? Like look at that success and celebrate it.
Yep.
And be about that, because the journeys continue and people get to journey together, but that's a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got to choose to celebrate those things. You got to choose to pick people up. You got to choose all of that stuff. And if you let the negatives consume you, you're going to go down a deep dark path that nothing good's going to come
Yeah.
from it. So
Literally.
well, that's awesome, man. That's amazing. I, again, appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming out. Obviously, we could probably keep talking for a while.
Oh,
just to
wow.
catch
For sure.
up,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
All day.
but we gotta cut ourselves off. But man, I hope that you guys look up his stuff. I hope anybody that makes it to the end of this, check it out. Go support him. He's a local kid that's trying to pave his own way and do his own thing. And so it's an important thing to support the people that are in our communities. And from a great athlete who dealt with adversity to being able to run his own business and be a super successful brand, and continuing to grow and giving back, and like being a part of that aspect for community and connecting with people, and trying to do all of the things, right? Like it's an awesome story. It's a success story, and it's only going to keep getting better. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Any other questions? Any follow-ups from you?
No, man, that's I just want to say wow.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
it's crazy for real.
it's crazy. We talk about elevating and surrounding ourselves with people who believe in us, and that's typically why the circle's small,
Yeah.
and that growth is always there. Nobody wants to be there until the finish line.
Yep.
The grind is real, and putting in the hours is real. So I do want to say, like, if you ever need any help with anything, let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm happy to dive deep into some of this stuff. This was created out of an afternoon of research. And you know, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's what I like to do.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Great.
Well, anything else? Anything else to say?
One thing I was gonna say is like, you know, really kind of piggybacking on the like stay true to yourself is like when I travel to all these big places, New York, LA, running into these big players or just meeting people in these bigger cities, they always say they're like, where are you from? You from LA? You from New York? And it's like, no, I'm from Wichita, Kansas. And they're like, wow, like a lot of those people have never been there. And they're like, you're really from the Midwest. And it's like, yes, I'm really from the Midwest. And you're like, the reason why these people think these things is like, no, because I was authentic, like I chose not to fit in, I was kind of like the oddball. It's like, no matter where you're from, like you can still create opportunity for yourself. Bigger than, where you're from. You got to see the bigger picture. So,
Yeah.
kind of last thing.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love it. But we always finish our pods with prayer. Big Sean's not in here, but Keshawn's in here. So
Yeah.
we, like Dave said at the beginning, we switched it out. But I'm going to lead us in a prayer here to finish out our pod. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for, supporting what we're trying to do and highlighting people in our communities and the things that we have happening. And, obviously, if you guys have other people or questions or anything, just reach out, connect with us. We'd love to continue this journey and kind of keep things going. But all right, I'm going to close this out in prayer and then we'll hop off here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to reconnect with Key and have an opportunity to have a conversation with him. It means the world to me to be able to be a part of his journey and help him along the way. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for our family time. Thank you for our families. Without, the opportunity to connect and without the opportunity that you provide us with, none of this would be possible. So I want to say thank you for that. As we kind of continue, as he continues to travel and move around and impact other people across the world, please bless him. Please watch over him as he's moving and help him to stay true to who he is and how he wants to continue to develop. And all things, we appreciate you providing us with the opportunity to do all of this. So thank you for that. And we appreciate everything. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, that wraps up episode 30. Wow, 30.
30. Big 3-0.
Keshawn Howell, thanks for joining us today. And for those of you that were watching, have a good one.